Hi, Jake. Just over 24 hours before the game, and made quite a big call there in the front of Joe van Sale. Just your thinking behind that?
Look, I mean, Joe does his basics really well, Ashfaq. I think also Skulk came out of the game last week. He's all right now, but he wasn't all right to train Monday and Tuesday. And I just thought, look, we're going to prepare with a proper team. We're not going to try and get, guys are 50-50 in by Thursday. So, at this point in time, Joe he got training on Monday, Tuesday, gave us good prep time. And then I've obviously got Jan Hendrik, who I've got lots of faith in on the bench.
Jake, not trying to pick on him, but just given the profile that Johan Goosen has almost like created in that jersey, I suppose with Chris now, that the Rainbow Cup final and the game time he's had is now really going to come in handy for Chris. Even though it was a difficult experience, one probably sort of like feels now, gosh, I'm really thinking this guy can step up to the plate because he has the experience now behind him.
Exactly that, Heintz. I mean, I think, not comparing, but it is like it is. You look at the minutes that, Tim Sweel played for Province, or you look at the minutes in the last couple of months that Kerwin Bosch played at 10, and the lack of game time the other players have got that were understudies to those players, comes back to bite you when you haven't prepared like that. So I'm confident, a guy like Chris has had enough experience, he's played enough with his group, he's trained enough with his group, he's managed to get some sort of success in this group as well, which gives him confidence as well. And let's be fair, I mean, I've also, I've got to back Goosen not to be with us forever. He's going to be in the Springbok setup, that's how I see it. And if he is, then we've got to make sure that we have a capable lieutenant, and I think we do. So, funny enough, I'm at a sponsors function now, and I told him the story about when Justin Swart pulled his hamstring in Paris, and Monty got the call to come in and play. Monty ended up playing 100 Test matches for South Africa. So opportunity is an amazing thing. Sometimes it's, and I think in that Test match, South Africa won by 50 points. We beat. Nick was coaching, I was part of that staff, and we beat France by 50 points, I think, the last game at Parc des Princes. So, opportunity is a fantastic thing in sport, and, I'm very excited about seeing how Chris adapts and takes his chance, because that's what it's all about.
Joke, are you hoping the pack will make it easier for him to play his role at 10?
Yeah, Kubus. I mean, things in rugby never change. You need a tight five. You need forward. You need forwards to play well. I mean, whether it's a final, whether it's a playoff game, you need your pack to be cohesive. So, I mean, it's not just that. I mean, I think he's good enough, and he's going to have to adapt. I remember Nas. I spent lots of time with Nas, and Nas always said, when the pressure's on, the 10's got to get closer to the action. So I'm hoping that, that as he says, he doesn't move away. He comes closer to where the action is, and and I'm confident he will, Kubus. I'm confident he will. And the pack, we played really well. I mean, we started last week against the Stormers, or Province side, the same Province side that blew the Sharks away in Durban at their home ground. And we literally could win the game within the first 25 minutes of that fixture. So I mean, there's no reason why we can't replicate that again.
Jake, I know he's bracketed, but it's the first time he's sort of like featuring. Davey could say, is that a case of a guy that's really impressed in club rugby? And I mean, we all know his junior pedigree. I mean, he was a junior Springbok, and he can cover, I suppose, 10 and 12. So useful option.
Yeah, exactly that, Heintz. And I mean, he's been training with us. One of the things we've tried to work really hard on at the Bulls is integrate the juniors and the seniors. And I say in terms of age, not in terms of profile. And you look at a guy like Ludwig trains with us, Jan Hendrik trains with us, Reinhard Roots trains with us, Kanan Moody, one of the under 20 centers and wingers, is training with us. So I mean, I'm comfortable again that he's had enough interaction with the senior group, or with a group that he hasn't played much together with, and with his pedigree. I mean, he was a great schoolboy player, played SA schools, played SA under 20s, then played really well in the under 20 side for the Bulls last year, under 21s as they were then, to win the competition. So I mean, I'm comfortable that if we need to put him in, he's going to be good enough.
mentioned Johan as someone you expect to be back involved with the box quite soon. Who are some of the other players who have impressed you during the Currie Cup and that you think might be knocking on the national door quite soon?
Yeah, you know, Craig, it's difficult because it's not going to become I think that the national selectors have and the coaches have done outstanding work. They're winning. They won the Lions series. They won the World Cup. You know, I don't think they need to change anything because it's working. You know, but I mean, long term, there are lots of players. We got a relatively young group of players and some really young, talented players coming through as well. You know, if you look at, as I said, you've got Kane and Moody's that have just come out of a successful campaign. You've got, you know, Ludwig, Jan-Hendrik Wessels, and you go one up. You've got a lot of those youngsters that are now sort of just into our senior age groups. You know, they're probably a bit young for Test rugby, but I've got no doubt they're going to come through. So, yeah, it's not a case of, you know, I think him, and him, because we have fantastic players in our national setup as it is now. And, you know, our job is just to make sure that we can keep producing talented and good Blue Bulls players. And then if they do get called up, they can handle that pressure of international rugby.
Like, heaven forbid Chris Smith does get injured, but if he does, who is your fly half replacement on the bench? If Chris Smith back, I mean,
yeah, well, again, that's
if Ruan gets
yeah. Ken, to be honest, I mean, I haven't decided on which way we're going to go yet, so that's why it's difficult for me to answer. But you know, if he gets injured, then you know, then it's probably, you know, some other guy will have to step up, and if he gets injured, then you know, then I'm going to have to ask the question of whether it's meant to be. But you know, generally, I'm comfortable that most guys have that we've got backup too. You know, Keegan Johannes played 10 at school. You know, a guy like David Creel, I'm sure, could slot in there. Harold Foster played 10 at school as well. So, you know, we've got more than enough options to do the job. You know, whether it's going to be good enough. Obviously, when we have a couple of injuries, it's not ideal. But I mean, I've got to ask the same question of the Sharks. You know, if they lose, you know, you can never plan, Ken, on if he gets injured and he gets injured, what are you going to do? I mean, you got to think positively. And at this point in time, you know, I'm comfortable that Chris will be good enough to control us for 80 minutes.
Jake, perhaps a foregone question. I spoke to your president earlier this week, and he said a little bit uncomfortable about this game tomorrow. And I attended the Zoom meeting with Joey Monchalo earlier this week as well, and he's looking forward to a big brawl and a match in the WWF type of squeegeveg. Now, it all depends on what you answer. How did you see it? I mean, what's been done has been done, and like you just said, there are certain things that you still need to clarify. What do you expect? Obviously, it's going to be finals type of rugby.
Yeah, Simon, you know, I'm expecting us to start like we started last week as well. You know, why wouldn't we? I mean, what's the difference? You know, and I think, you know, you can't preempt what you think's going to happen. I just think positively. I think we can start well. We've got the same group of players. We made 2 changes to our team. We've got a 2 and a 10 out, but the rest of the players are comfortable. You know, they lost to the Sharks lost to Province 2 weeks ago at home. You know, I'm repeating myself. They lost 2 weeks ago at home in a game when they, you know, and Province, you know, were on the ropes after 25 minutes against us. So I mean, you know, it depends on how you want to see it. I've been reading a lot about, you know, you can read into anything you want to. You know, whether they think they had a tougher semi-final 24-28 result. You know, I think they forgot that the week before that they got blown away by the Stormers team or the Province team. So, you know, I'm positive, Timon. It's not a case of whether I think it's going to be an arm wrestle. It's not a case of whether or not whatever happened last year is irrelevant. Whether it was 100 minutes last year, all the Springboks played. This year, you know, the Sharks are missing 10, 11 of their players that are in Australia. You know, so yeah, there's no answer. You know, is it going to be a WWF dogfight? Is it going to be, you know, finals rugby, whatever? I think we must just play as well as we can, and you know, and if that, and as I said, I think if we do, then we'll be fine.
Jake, let me play devil's advocate here. That Province League game before the semi-final, the Sharks sort of were through already to the playoffs and
Yeah.
you could argue they didn't need to be as desperate as maybe like Province. Obviously, more at stake now. How do you approach or avoid a 100-minute situation or the lessons learned from the Rainbow Cup final? Sort of it's final. I know obviously you would want them to start. You want your team to start last week, but finals are just a different.
But Ashfaq, you've just answered it for me. The desperate Western Province team beat them. So challenge is simple. We must come tomorrow and be more desperate than them. We're playing at home, and then we'll be okay.
Just a word on Bismarck signing with the Bulls.
Yes.
Obviously, quite nice to get that kind of experience in the group. For how long will he be available for the Bulls?
Yeah, so he signed 2 years with us, Quibus. And again, I've got to stress, I've got incredible, as you can see, I've got incredible hookers. I mean, I've got a guy like Grobbies is now with a national setup. I've got Jan Hendrik. Then I've just basically what's the word? Jump-started Joe van Zyl above Skalk Erasmus this week, which means I've got confidence in the hookers we have, and I've chatted to the youngsters. I've chatted to them about the fact that they don't read into anything. We need two really good teams next year. Currie Cup and URC are playing together at the same time. So, I'll give you an example. If tomorrow's team runs out for the URC, our starting team, and our other team is Lizo and Trevor and Bismarck and Sintu and Walt and Jacques Duplessis and V.A. Steenkamp and Miller Ace, that's not a bad Currie Cup pack of forwards. And then you've got Ambrose Papier and you've got Johan Goosen and you've got Kurtley Orense and you've got I'm just trying to think aloud of guys who are not involved. And you've got Stedman Gans. Then all of a sudden, that's not a bad Currie Cup 15 to run out as well. So there's nothing about one guy or going to come in and make a difference. It's about the group effort. So yeah, we're very excited about having him. I also want to share with you, I've been coaching in Europe, and we need that kind of player to play in Europe. I mean, it's a completely different game. We're playing in Connacht, which is on the west coast of Ireland. It's terrible weather. It's cold. It's wet. It's it's going to be one of those real tough games in the mud. And a guy like Bismarck, Jacques Duplessis, and those sort of guys are the ones you need on the field during those games.
First of all, can I just ask you, just remind us again, what exactly are you expecting Bismarck's role to be in at the Union? Is it specific, primarily just as a player, or is it more like a Geo Appler? A mentorship role as well?
Is it Afrikaans or English, first of all?
You can go in English, please.
Okay. Now, his role is definitely not just like Gio Aplon. I mean, Gio wants to play as well. Gio, I'm not talking about now, but when he arrived, he wanted to play as well. So, I mean, Bismarck's not going to be happy just standing on the sideline and being like an assistant coach. But at the same point, when he's on the field, he's going to be helping guys like Mornay Smith, who's a relatively young tight head. He's going to be helping Gerard Steenkamp and Simpiwe, that are relatively young loose heads. And in terms of the art of scrumming and the art of understanding what kind of pressure situations you are on the field, So, yeah, I mean, Percival, as I said, it's not just as simple as he's only there to, but I don't want to underestimate the value of a guy like that has all that experience and can share it on field during pressure situations with players who've never ever been in those situations.
Wallabies have just brought this 80-year-old. Do you think the Springbok should take note of that, and knowing that Bismarck is back in South Africa as well?
Sorry, what did they do? I didn't hear.
They brought a 38-year-old back, though. Should they take note of the fact that Bismarck is also back in South Africa again?
Look, I mean, it's not. Again, I repeat myself, Percival. It's not for me to decide how the national selectors. For me, I mean, I can only get the Bulls as strong as I can, or as I'm allowed to, and. I'm just very thankful that to get a guy like that with that experience, as I mentioned again, with the tight forwards we have, Ruan Nokia young, Janku Swanepoel young, even Sintu Manjezi is relatively young still, as a tight forward. So to have an experienced guy in the middle like that is going to be gold to us going forward.
Like last year's Currie Cup final, we saw the final being refereed very differently to the way the rest of the competition was.
Yes.
Which was a bit of a surprise. Presumably you'll be chatting tomorrow to Van der Westhuizen. I mean, are we going to get the same sort of refereeing that we've had in the Currie Cup so far, really sort of favouring the attacking sides at the ruck?
Look, I mean, you would like to believe, Ken, that, I mean, the Currie Cup final will be the same as, you know, and to be fair, next week we leave to go to Ireland and we play against Leinster and we play in the URC. So, I mean, the message has been very clear from Mark Lawrence and from the referees. They're trying to prepare us for something that we're going to get in the Northern Hemisphere. And the point is, the game should be no different. I'm talking about from an adjudicating point of view in the North or the South. Yeah, I mean, it was a significant difference having Yaku there last year, but we're talking about one of the best referees in the world. And, you know, Marius is the form referee, is the guy that that is earmarked to referee test matches, and this is, you know, the top of the table clash, and it is a Currie Cup final, which in our country is a massive event. So, yeah, I mean, Mark, you know, has said many times his job is to produce test referees, and I think it's a, you know, a great opportunity for any ref that's involved in a final to show whether or not he can ref at test level.
Any more
Right,
questions?
just a question away from tomorrow's final. The Wallabies brought in Currie Cup, and I think that's quite a surprise. Do you think that will make them a different team on Sunday?
Kobus, all I will say is this. I think the one significant thing that's going to be completely different is that there's going to be crowds. I think that having you know, I don't want to answer them whether a 38-year-old or a fly half or whatever. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen Quade play because he's been in Japan playing at Kintetsu with his mate Will Guinea. So I mean, it's hard for me to compare on where his game is and all that. But what I will say, one of the things that you guys can take note or be aware of is the significance of having a crowd again. I mean, I think we've forgotten what it's like to play in front of a crowd. I know that for a fact because when we got to Benetton, to even have 2,500, 3,000 people in the stadium was incredible. I mean, it's an incredible difference to what you're used to. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing to see how we play in front of crowds again, because we haven't done it for so long.
Jake, you touched earlier on the fact that it's going to be a collective thing. It doesn't make it's not an individual thing on Saturday. But the Sharks have brought back Thomas du Toit. How would that impact on the game? Because the last time you guys played in Dundee, it was pretty tight in the forward. So, you know, they fronted up a bit.
Yeah.
They've got a big forward. How would that impact tomorrow?
Yeah. Look, I mean, the last time he played for South Africa, he played outstandingly well. You know, I mean, he played really well for South Africa in that test that he played at tight head. You know, I'm sure he's a massive bonus for them. You know, it's a great advantage for them to have got him back. You know, we'd love to have Krobie's back and Morné Steyn back and Dwayne Vermeulen back, but hey, you know, we can only control the things we can control. And yeah, I mean, he's important to them. They obviously have been struggling in the scrums, and that's why they've jumped him ahead of the other guys who've got them to the final. But you know, again, Jan, it's not for me to talk about how they do it or why they do it or whether it's right or wrong. He'll be up for it. You know, as I said, his last game was really good for South Africa, and I'm sure that he'll want to not only improve but also to stamp his claim on the fact that he can build on that great performance that he had against Argentina.
As a follow-up, Jake, from one old school guy to another one, where would you rate this final in terms? I mean, we've had the big finals of the 80s, you know, the Province Bulls, the big finals through the years. Where would you rate this final? Is it right there as a big final, or is it just another final?
Jan, look, it'll never ever just be another final. I mean, you look at the history books, and in 1939 is when I mean, it obviously started before that, but 1939. You look at the trophy, you look at the history that's in that trophy. I think the day we get to a Currie Cup final just being another game, I mean, then we've probably lost perspective of what it's all about. You know, it's the oldest rugby or the oldest sporting trophy in the world. It's something that's part of our DNA. You know, I mean, as I said to you, and I'm sure I'm waxing lyrical again to you guys, but the Hempies to toys and the innings van Asvegings and the Naasbooters and it means a hell of a lot to those guys. The Tace Lawrences and the Bierman van Sales, you know, it's part of who we are as a country. And you know, you would know this, Jan, in the time of isolation and apartheid, that was our benchmark. You know, and I think you you know, I try and educate some of these young boys about the fact that they get a massive opportunity to become part of history and become part of that legacy, not only at the Bulls, but of winning Currie Cups. Hasn't been done back-to-back for many years, and it's not done often, Jan, back-to-back. And there's a reason for it, because it's very difficult to win this trophy. And, you know, it's always got to be like that. I mean, as I said, you know me well enough to know I'm old school, and I always want it to be difficult to win it. It must never be a fait accompli to win this trophy, and it must never be easy, because then we take away a lot of things that are important to lots of other people before us.
Okay, final question, please.
Okay, perhaps on it. The Currie Cup next year. It sounds like it's going to be played kind of early in the year.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be all right, because we'll have Trevor, Lizu, Bismarck, Walton too.
No, I mean, you need big squads in Europe as well. But why has there been any reason given? I mean, I think the URC final is in May, isn't it?
Yes.
Why don't they just play Currie Cup like the similar time they're playing in this year?
Yeah, Ken, look, I don't know the detail of that. I would say this is, I think that if you have it in that time, maybe there's player welfare in terms of, and there's test matches, and you wouldn't get to have your best players playing in it, and you would need some time for players to recoup and have time off as well. I'm talking about from the players who play, because they've been playing now, as you know, for, you know, non-stop for a long period of time. And also, that's why I spoke earlier to you guys about the sensitivities of never, you know, demeaning the Currie Cup. It's got to stay as the premier competition. It's got to hold the kudos and the value that it's held in our country, because I think once we lose that once, it's going to be a hell of a difficult to get that back. And you know, I mentioned those players' names, you know, the guys who've won it and the guys who've had, you know, history, and we can't chuck that away. We worked really hard to get a 103-year tournament and trophy as an iconic event, and that's why we run it congruently with a URC, because when we can still play the Trevors and the Elizors and the Dwayne Vermeulens and the Goossens, because then you got to box clever about playing some Springboks in that competition as well, which again, I'm sure the sponsors and the public would love the fact that they're going to see some of the best players still competing for that trophy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I just ask this last one? Thank you, Donnell. Jack, just going back to Jan's question on mentorship and stuff like that, comparison between the January final as the 2020 final and the final just now in September.
Yes.
How much of a maturity have you seen arising from your players? And you personally, how much satisfaction do you have as a mentor, not even comparing the way that you started to coach the players?
Yes.
How much personal value is there for you? And what do you aspire to, except for the fact that this is this prestige competition coming up to a final tomorrow?
Yeah, Simon, look, I'm obviously extremely proud. I mean, if you look at it, and you guys are following the team and you follow all the teams, and if you look at the growth of this group, of certain individuals, you know, and again, I just mentioned names, but everyone's been in the same. You know, Janku Swanepoel, who's come out of the juniors, Ruan Nokia, that's become now, you know, a household name from being a, you know, not even a Craven Week rugby player at school. A guy like Jan Hendrik Wessels, who's grown, Morne Smith and Gerard Steenkamp as a scrumming combination. Remember when I got here, there were question marks about the scrum, and all of a sudden people are talking about those two guys as, you know, as a power front row. So it gives me great pleasure. It gives me great confidence as well. And part of it is, that's why we must never detract from the fact that I want these guys to put a premium on the fact that winning and winning Currie Cups is important. Not only because it's important, but because it's going to help us in our development going forward, Simon. So, yeah, we've all grown, and but the proof is in the pudding tomorrow. You know, the proof is on how we execute, how we handle pressure, whether we play well. And that's why I think everyone gets excited for these big occasions, you guys and us, because, you know, it's another final, it's another chapter, it's another opportunity for some players to really, you know, stake a claim in everything they want to achieve. And obviously it gives a union like the Bulls an opportunity. The first time ever in 103 years that one team can win a Currie Cup twice in 1 year, which again is, might sound insignificant, but in 103 years you become the first team that ever do that. There's got to be motivation. So Ashfaq, we will be desperate, and we will be there, and we will be, whether the Sharks think it's it's just another game, well, let's hope so.